Hello, everybody. Happy Game Day, Tuesday, November 18th. Champions Classic at Madison Square Garden. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. TJ Walker, producer Matt Childress in the producer room. It's kind of like a chamber, a dungeon of sorts. And in New York City is one Stephen Peak, who we are going to have joining the show in just a moment, as a matter of fact, really any second now. Producer Matt Childress, how are you? What's up?
I'm good. It's been a pretty crappy looking day outside, a little cold. You know, we kind of came off of this great weather this weekend, and now we're back to this. We're back to the Louisville, Kentucky weather that I know this time of the year, unfortunately, but trying to stay positive, trying to keep the uplifting mood. Doing good. How about you, TJ? How's it going?
I was at the office today. I want to go. I hate to start the show with some violence, but one of my best friends who thinks that seasonal depression isn't real, I want to go punch him in the face on a day like today. I was at the office today, and I looked outside at one point, and I was just like, it is pitch black. It is 10:30 in the morning, and it is just pitch black. And it's because it's raining, and it's just winter and whatnot, although I don't want to scare anybody, but I see some UK big blue skies outside. The clouds are starting to part a little bit, so maybe that doom and gloom is behind us, one producer Matt, because yes, it was a dark and gloomy, rainy, ugly, chilly morning, but maybe that's all behind us, big dog.
I'm really hoping so, because I get mad seasonal depression.
It's totally real. It's honestly, I think you have to be a complete and total goober to not think that it's real. You go to work, it's dark. You get home from work, depending on the time, it may be dark, or it's getting dark. It's like all I do is darkness, and then the time where I'm most active, I've got to be inside a cage working. I don't get to get out and enjoy it during the daytime. I still will never understand daylight saving. Why don't we just do 30 minutes? I don't understand it. So many people hate the hour. No, don't do it. Just get rid of it. Never switch back. So many people freaked out. No, we have to. I see both sides of it. You don't need kids waiting at the school bus in pitch black. You shouldn't do that. But on the flip side, we also don't need it being dark at 5:30. So why don't we just do the classic good old 30 minutes? I feel like it's a little too light in the morning at times. It's just like, all right, we don't need that much light. And it's certainly a little too dark too early in the evening. So there's my $1 million idea. Vote for TJ. 30-minute fallback spring forwards coming to a government near you.
I think we just get rid of it entirely.
Well, we thought about that, and we thought that we were going to do that because all the politicians said that.
Like, what does it even gain? Wasn't it for
But then everybody freaked out.
Agriculture or whatever?
Yes, agriculture. And you really don't need it being that dark in the morning. Like, you just, you've got kids waiting out at a bus stop at 8:15, 8:30, and it's just pitch black, like it's the middle of the night. You don't necessarily need that either. So I just thought the good old-fashioned 30-minute compromise would work. Will you let me know when we have Peak?
He just got on.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, TJ.
All right, Stephen Peak. Happy Tuesday to you. How is New York?
New York, I assume, is great. We are in Newark right now. Got in last night. Took about an hour and a half to get the 3 miles from the airport to the hotel. But we're doing great now. Got some, Kenyan food last night. Swahili Village, highly recommend. Great stuff, what they're doing at Swahili Village.
I'll make sure to get out there tomorrow.
Yeah, go check it out. Free plug for Swahili Village.
In Newark, New Jersey.
The Trip by Wyndham.
I love it.
So, yeah, doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm pumped about this game tonight. I'm glad it's not the late one, especially 6:30. That'll be a good time. Have you seen any blue in the New Jersey, New York area?
Saw a couple people. There were a few people actually on our flight that recognized Jack Pilgrim, and we got to talking with them. They're excited. They make this trip every time Kentucky goes to New York City. They make a New York City trip out of it. They're going to stay until the weekend. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Unfortunately, if you've come to New York to watch Kentucky basketball the last 2 times, you've left disappointed. So we're hoping to buck that trend today, and I'm feeling good about it, TJ. Like I said yesterday, I've already talked myself into Kentucky winning this one, getting the fan base back on track, getting everybody to realize the goals of what we're trying to accomplish this year. So it's going to be a good night for Kentucky fans, I feel like.
Has Kentucky only beaten Michigan State twice in the Champions Classic? Or just once?
I'm not sure about that, but I do know that Kentucky really historically has struggled in this. Even though at the beginning of the competition they were winning it by a lot, they had the largest margin of victory and the largest margin of defeat. I think I said that yesterday. Calipari, in the last 7 Champions Classic games that he coached in, went 1-6. Not great. But Mark Pope has the best winning percentage in the Champions Classic right now. He is batting 1,000.
You can't beat that. Yeah, that's 1-6 is really bad. So they have beaten. Kentucky's played Michigan State. They played them in 13. That one I was there for that one. That was in the United Center. That was when UK, I think, was preseason number 1. Harrison Twins, Julius Randle, and the more experienced Michigan State team came out, just suffocated Kentucky. I remember at halftime we were all like, "Oh no, is UK just not that good?" Julius Randle took over in the second half, made that game respectable. And Kentucky had chances to win that one, but couldn't pull it out. 2016, 2017, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk. That was a beatdown of Michigan State in the Champions Classic. That one also in New York. Cats won that one by 21 points. Again, with De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk just totally dominating. Then they played Michigan State again. Tyrese Maxey, another freshman. He has that big moment. You can see the shot on the YouTube stream that we've got pulled up right there. He pulled up from, about like 26 feet, I think, is where he pulled up for that one. But really, Stephen Peak, the most recent Champions Classic game against Michigan State is the one that is the most maddening, but also maybe the one that you forget the most in the Champions Classic. Kentucky loses a double overtime game to Michigan State in Indianapolis. That's the only bad thing that's ever happened to UK in Indianapolis. Losing that double overtime game to Michigan State. But just thinking back of that game, and I've got a picture of that one as well, Oscar Tshiebwe was just dominant. I don't know what he finished with, but it was probably like 24 and 20. I'll get it pulled up here in just a second.
He fouled out, too. He was out for the second overtime.
22 and 18. Yeah, and you're right. He did foul out. 22 and 18, and that actually, for a double overtime game, you would have thought his numbers would probably be a little bit better. However, despite 22 and 18, he cost UK the game. He played like such a dingus that day, if you remember. That was when he was, I think, his first game back from injury. He had that that foot injury or whatever it was, and it was super mysterious because UK didn't talk about it. Of course, the John Calipari injury, and then it just sprung out of nowhere, and then people thought he could be out an extended period of time. But he comes back.
He had surgery.
Yeah, that's what it was. He had the surgery.
Yeah.
So he comes back, and he was so, I don't even know what the right word. He was just showboating that game, if you remember. He'd get a dunk, and then he'd just put his hands up to the crowd, like, cheer me, cheer me. And then Michigan State would run back on the other end. He did something really silly with an out-of-bounds play in overtime that I felt like cost UK the game. He had 5 turnovers in that game. So as dominant as he was, you got some of the bad Oscar Tshiebwe in that one. UK had no business losing that one to Michigan State. That one of the most frustrating ones in the Champions Classic now that I'm going back and reliving it.
Yeah, that was one that I think if it went differently, the whole season goes different because they put a lot of pressure on themselves after that game. They should have won it. They were ranked number 4 at the time. You get Oscar back. And if you go back and watch that game, there's a lot to like about what you saw early on. C.J. Frederick hit a big 3. Cason Wallace was playing pretty well, although he missed 2 free throws that allowed Michigan State to tie the game, not just in overtime. He missed the front end of a double bonus in regulation and in overtime. In both those times, Michigan State turned it into a game-tying basket on the other end. And, yeah, it was the inbounds play at the end of regulation. We were just watching this last night. And Oscar just leaves his man, lets his man just roll right to the basket. And it's a dunk to tie it. And then in the end of overtime, I think Michigan State goes the full length of the court. Jacob Toppin has to leave his man. Lance Ware fell down in the backcourt, and that caused all kinds of trouble. And then C.J. Frederick's guarding somebody he couldn't guard, and that guy just makes it look like he's standing still, goes around him and dunks, and they're tied again. So that game should have been locked up by Kentucky a couple of times. And then from that, and you're right, TJ, when I was going back and watching that last night, I was really surprised at how Oscar Tshiebwe was acting. And it made me just a little bit concerned. They're very different people and they're very different players. But he was such a fan favorite his first year at Kentucky, and he comes back and he's getting the huge pops during the starting lineup introductions. And then I wondered if some of that went to his head a little bit, if that caused some locker room problems. Now, what I'm about to say, I do not think causes locker room problems, by the way. But I do think that you have some guys who came back, and one guy who's potentially SEC Player of the Year, and I just hope that some of that isn't. I hope we're not reliving that scenario. This is a great game for Otega Owe to just make everyone shut up, and all the people who started doubting him this early in the season to eat some crow. It'd be a great night for that to happen.
He needs to. And, people, there's some people out there in life where it's like, if you cross me one time, I may forgive, but I won't forget. And I'm not doing that with UK basketball. I'll actually even no, I am doing it with UK basketball. Right? But it wasn't just a one pass. It wasn't just a one-time thing with me in Kentucky basketball. If they start slow again tonight, shame on you, Mark Pope, because they started slow against Louisville. And really, they didn't start slow. That's the only time they actually had the lead was right at the start. However, I'm talking about after that 8-minute where U of L went on that big run. That was
first halves have been an issue.
Yeah, first halves has been the issue. Not necessarily the first 4 minutes, because that has actually been an issue with UK basketball the last 5 years. But I'm not specifically talking about the first 4 minutes. But yes, let's just say the first 10, the first half of the first half. It was terrible against Louisville. And you didn't necessarily lose the game right then and there because you still did have a chance in the second half. But you really dug yourself in a deep hole on the road in a hostile environment. But that's not the first time. They came out just lackadaisical against Georgetown, where I was just like, did you all even prep at all? And I know it's an exhibition game, and it's not a big deal if you lose that one. But that's now 2 times, and we're November 18th, where Kentucky, I just didn't feel like, whether it's emotions or whether it's a game plan or X's and O's, scouting, just Kentucky did not come out as prepared as the other team. That cannot happen a third time by November 18th in a basketball season that we had Final Four, national championship expectations, and a $22 million roster. So you can't come out flat, Stephen Peak.
It's been an issue, at least in the non-conference under Mark Pope, where Kentucky's first half performance just isn't that good. And if you remember, there was lots of times he would say last year, the first few minutes of the game, the first half, first 10 minutes, wherever you want to mark it at, that they are collecting data. And by collecting data, we are losing a lot. So you go back to the Duke game last year, the first big game last season in the Champions Classic, down by 9 at halftime. So you're playing this really talented team from behind, and somehow you pull it out. Then you go to Clemson, down by 7 at halftime. Find yourself having just to claw yourself back into that one, and you outscore them in the second half, but it's not enough. And then you play Gonzaga, and you get down by 16 at halftime before turning it around and getting the win. So they've been able to find ways to win in these non-conference games after getting down at the half or down big at the half. But it's a pattern I'd like to see end. Let's just jump out on them early. Why not? I think I said this was a game that by the end of the game, I don't think we'll be sweating it out, but I don't think it will be super convincing. I don't think we'll be up 15 to 20 points at any point, but I think we'll keep it within that 7 to 10 range, 3 possessions most of the second half, where again you're not on pins and needles, you're not sweating it out. But again, Kentucky, let's just avoid getting down by double digits. How about that? Because we get down by double digits a lot, especially away from home.
Yeah, that's a great point. That just don't get down at all in the game. How about that? Let's lead from start to finish. A little wire to wire. A little wire to wire would go a long way for your boy. So Michigan State, they're a good team. They don't have as much talent as Kentucky. Tom Izzo, he spoke about Kentucky. He was incredibly complimentary of the Cats. However, took a couple shots at Arkansas, unprovoked, really. But he started out by saying, I told you all before the Arkansas game, this is probably the most talented team we're going to see. And then he insinuates that Kentucky's more talented than Arkansas. And he goes on to say Kentucky's more athletic. They're tougher than Arkansas. They really push the ball. Arkansas had one guy that really pushed the ball. Kentucky has multiple guys that really push the ball. They have more than a couple shooters. They can shoot it from deep, deep. Arkansas had one, maybe two. Kentucky has three, maybe four. They're big inside, and the two guys inside complement each other. They kind of play 22 to 18 minutes, so they're usually fresh. They're really well coached. Again, I think we're going to hit some of the better teams in the country, and they're one of them, talking about the Kentucky Wildcats. I had a U of L fan tweet me and say, are these 3 to 4 good, deep, deep shooters in the room with you now, Tom Izzo? I like that. But UK theoretically should have 3 or 4 deep shooters. I think that's true. And Tom Izzo said a lot of nice things about UK when making a few backhanded compliments at Arkansas. But Arkansas had every chance to win that game in East Lansing at the Izzo Dome. Arkansas came up short 69 to 66, but was leading at halftime in that game. And that's the only team that Michigan State has played with a pulse in the regular season. They did do an exhibition game against UConn. That was right before Halloween, similar to when Kentucky was playing Purdue and doing that sort of stuff. UConn really just dominated right off the start and had a 15-point lead at halftime, if I remember correctly, in that exhibition game. And Michigan State played them even in the second half. So they've gone against a good team on the road in that one, but it was an exhibition game. This will be their first real meaningful game away from the Breslin Center at Madison Square Garden tonight. They have a player that has some of the best numbers in college basketball so far in Jackson Kohler, who is just a double-double machine. He's averaging 14 and 13 right now for Michigan State. His most recent game, 17 points and 18 rebounds. But when you think of Tom Izzo teams, Stephen Peak, you think of tough physical guards that are going to make things difficult in the backcourt. Jeremy Fears will do that for Michigan State. He's not a great scorer, but he is their facilitator, their leader, and he's a good defender. So this is a tough defensive team, and I like the under. We're going to get to the gambling angle a little bit later, but I think defense is going to look better than the offense tonight.
Yeah, and honestly, if Michigan State wants to play that play physical like they typically do under Tom Izzo, I like that. I want this Kentucky team to be challenged in that way and match the physicality. I think that Kentucky will be able to do that. I mean, obviously, this team's more physical than they were last season. This is a good opportunity to put that on display against a physical team. That's why this matchup excites me so much. The game, Michigan State's going to try to slow things down, kind of like Purdue did, and I thought Kentucky looked pretty damn good in that game. So let's run that performance back. TJ, I was just looking it up while you were going through all of that. It's 9 of the last 12 games away from Rupp Arena that outside of tournament play that Kentucky has been trailing at halftime. And if you added like the SEC tournament to that, it would be even more.
Whoa!
But yeah, 9 of 12 away from Rupp Arena that Kentucky's trailing at halftime. So during our data collecting portion of the game, we are finding ourselves in holes, and a lot of them, I think 5 of those are double digits. And then you go to the end of the game, and the score ends up being respectable, except for that Alabama game in the SEC tournament where Kentucky lost about 20 or 29, whatever it was.
Yeah, and they never really made it all that interesting in the Tennessee Sweet 16 game, and I know they were down in that one at halftime. I don't know double digits. I would guess, but I can't say for certain.
Yeah, they were, and then even really the Troy game, they didn't turn it on till the end of the half when they went on that run, starting with the Amari Williams dunk and the Trent Noah 3. So, yeah, how about this? How about we just get ahead and not look back? I love that strategy. Let's do that. I don't know why we don't do that more, TJ. Why don't we just lead the game from the opening possession to the last possession? I don't know why you wouldn't do that. But yeah, this Michigan State team doesn't. Where do you think? I guess this is what I wanted to ask you even before we got on. Where do you think Michigan State is at the end of the season? Do you think this is a 3 or 4 seed in the tournament?
Yep, exactly what I was going to say. 3 or 4 seed probably. Yeah, there'll be a team where it's like, all right, when they're playing a 2 seed or a 1 seed in the Sweet 16, the 1 seed or the 2 seed will say, if we just don't totally goof, we should be okay. But if we play really bad, this is a good enough team. They're just going to be that pesky, like, well-coached team that, all right, our talent should win out. However, if we have a bad night or if they're really hot, because they are a bad shooting team. And Tom Izzo talked about that in his press conference previewing the Champions Classic. He said eventually at some point the shots have to go in. We got to start making them at some point, and it almost makes that Arkansas win more impressive and even more embarrassing for John Calipari. Michigan State at home was 1 of 14 from deep in that game.
That's
1 of 14.
Terrible.
Oh, yeah, 7%.
That's terrible.
It's really, really bad. So if they shoot that poorly tonight, Kentucky's going to win. And if they don't, then that's a major, major issue for Mark Pope. The thing that we all know, though, Stephen Peake, is they will not shoot that poorly tonight. We definitively know that. They will shoot better, but they are not a great shooting team, so take that in consideration.
Are you just saying it's just bad Kentucky luck? Is that what you're saying as far as the shots will go in tonight?
Kentucky fans, and I know every fan base, woe is me, right? Every fan base probably thinks this to a certain degree, but of course they're going to come out and get hot from outside. They're a bad shooting team. So when they play Kentucky, naturally, they're not going to be so bad. They hit 1 3-pointer in 40 minutes of play against Michigan or against Arkansas. I bet Michigan State has 2 3-pointers in 4 minutes of play against Kentucky. That's going to go. I bet by the first TV timeout, they have matched their 3-point total that they've hit against Arkansas. I wouldn't be shocked if in the first possession they match their 3-point total against Arkansas. That being said, though, I'm not saying this. I really am not doing this as like a woe is me exercise. Oh, just Kentucky's luck. They're gonna come out here and make a ton of threes on us. One, they shouldn't. So UK, it's on you defensively to get hands up, closed out, just make the shots difficult. And it sounds like Michigan State won't hit them. Now, if you give them to them wide open, they are D1 athletes on scholarship, getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in nil money. They're probably going to make the open shots. Just don't make it easy on them. But no, I use this as a positive. Kentucky, Louisville was on fire at times against you. Yeah. Michigan State won't do that. They may catch fire for possession, but it really shouldn't happen more than once or twice. So this is a UK team, despite maybe 2 8-minute stretches against U of L, or maybe even 2 6-minute stretches against U of L. I've really been impressed with their defense. This should be an assignment that they win, in my opinion.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I really do. I also want to see, can we get, with Denzel Aberdeen running the point, can we get more threes for Colin Chandler? Easily Kentucky's best 3-point shooter. It was. I won't say it was an issue last year. Kobe Brea, I think, got off 7, nearly 8 threes per game. I'll have to check that to make sure that's right. But getting Kobe shots in some of the big games, getting him open looks was an issue. Even with all the other shooters around him. So I want to see Colin Chandler get several looks. I think Colin Chandler needs to shoot 10 threes. I mean, I wouldn't mind him shooting 10 threes a game the way he's shooting them, as long as they're not, off balance, bad shots, obviously. But I would like to see Kentucky get him 8 to 10 threes today, because I think he's going to hit 4 of them. Kentucky hits 8 threes tonight. Hits 9 threes tonight. They're going to win the game.
I feel good about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking for that. I don't even care what the percentage is. They're going to shoot 30. So whatever 9 of 30 is, just below 30. Was it 30%? Something like that. Close to 30%.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. And again, another big night from Otega Oweh. I'm calling it right now. Players have bad games. Otega Oweh played bad games last season. And then he had really good games. We just saw the bad game come early. So I think you're going to see him figure it out tonight.
And this is a Otega Oweh game, too. Not to interrupt your peak, but just to add on to that point, and I'll let you finish. But first off, isn't Mo Diabate from New York? Otega Oweh is from Newark. You're at the home of Otega Oweh right now, Stephen Peake, in Newark, New Jersey. So go out and, play all 40 minutes for your friends and family that are going to be coming to the game. Really, you should do it anyways because you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a sport, which is just such a privilege and a treat in its own right. But, dude, I totally agree with you. Otega Oweh, this is the physical game that you think he would thrive in. Michigan State's going to be physical. They're going to foul. Otega Oweh is going to have to penetrate, drive, get to the rim. This reminds me somewhat of an SEC game from last season. So, Ortega, don't wait till the second half to take over. Let your presence be known early. Don't get too perimeter happy. I'm okay with him taking open threes. I'm all right with that. But this is a good bounce back spot for Ortega with the matchups, in my opinion.
Not to mention, I mean, Stephen Peak probably ate at the same Kenyon place that Ortega always eating at.
Yep, good point.
Good omen there, Stephen Peak. Good job on you.
But is that right?
We're gonna go ahead and roll.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna say it's happened. Well, who says it happened?
We're gonna need somebody from the
That's true.
Oway
Andy's
family
around
to
here.
correct us if it's not. Was it a Kenyon place or was it a? Was that it?
Yeah, it was called Swahili Village. I believe that's Kenyan. Swahili.
Swahili.
Isn't that right?
We'll go to
Somebody
our,
fact check me
we'll
on that.
go to our African expert.
I love to learn.
We're not really necessarily maybe the show for that.
Well,
sort of
in
expert.
in the press conference afterward, you got to go up to Ortega Oway and be like, "So how does Swahili Village sound right now, Mr. Ortega?"
TJ, I do have a question for you before we go to the break, and maybe you want to answer this at the end, at the coming back from it.
Okay.
The starting lineup. Do you think Kentucky runs it back with the same starting lineup that we saw versus Louisville that I think we've seen all season, except for no, I think that's right. The Trent Noah started game one. I don't think he's going to start today. Maybe answer this when we come back from the break. I want to know what you think Kentucky's starting lineup is going to be today because I've had a little bit of an issue with it so far this season.
All right, we'll answer that. Some of the matchups we like, some of the bets we liked. As Peak mentioned, UK has been horrible in the first half on the road, neutral site games. Maybe some money to be had there. We'll tell you about that. And then I'm going to get to the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Text in. We love it. We love hearing from you. But one text in for Spears on Sports. I'll just read this, and then we'll come back from the commercial break. We'll answer the starting lineups question. But one texter texted John Spears and said, "Hey, John Spears, how would you know what 1980s porn looks like?" What in the world were they talking about Spears on Sports today? Kentucky Roll Call comes back after this.
Yeah, I'm out at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next
at that swag. Oh, man. Mr. Calipari, you got a star.
Welcome back. Kentucky roll call. Dick Vitale at his best right there, calling Tyrese Maxey's virtual game winner against Michigan State back in 2019. Kentucky's last win over the Spartans in the Champions Classic, which is taking place tonight at Madison Square Garden in New York. Stephen Peak is in the building. They've been doing the Champions Classic every year since 2011. I don't know if they've re-upped for another 4 years, but I do think I do think it's re-upped for another 4. I think it's through 2028, and we'll see if it goes on any longer from there. But a fun event. It's usually kind of the start of the college basketball season. This year, a bit of an outlier there, but still exciting stuff in New York. You'll get more people watching college basketball tonight than they have since last April in the Final Four. So this is the kind of the regular audience, the casuals' introduction to college basketball. Champions Classic night tonight. And injuries are going to be an issue in the Champions Classic. Darren Peterson for Kansas not playing against Duke, so you may have seen that line. 10.5 points, Duke, a big favorite in the night game. And you may have said, what? Why is Duke 10.5-point favorites? It's because Peterson was doubtful going into the game, but they have made it clear that he will be out. Bill Self had an alarming quote, I want to say on Friday or Saturday, where he said, yeah, Peterson's out, and I've got no clue how long he's out. It's really just going to be up to him on when he wants to come back. And instantly your mind goes to like, oh, no, nil. Is he sitting out? Has to take care of his body. And if Kansas isn't great, maybe he'll sit out a little bit longer. He'll be back at some point, but it does seem like they don't know when he'll be back, and it won't be tonight against Duke. And then from the UK-Michigan State side of things, you already know it, but Jalen Lowe, he's still out and unclear when he's going to be back in the picture for Kentucky. And Stephen Peak, TJ Walker, producer Matt Childers here on Kentucky Roll Call, Tuesday edition of the show. Get your text into the Gameday Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450, 502-414-1450. And that text line brought to you by our friends at Gameday Men's Health. The redefining men's wellness, no shortcuts, just results, and that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what we all want. We want something that works, and Gameday Men's Health is going to find something that works for you and something that's going to stay working for you. So if you lose some weight, it's not like, all right, well, after the program, you put it right back on. They're going to get you feeling good and get you feeling good for the future. GameDayMen'sHealth.com to take your first step into feeling better. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. It's free to go to the website. Check it out. It's your body. You only get one of them. It's best to take care of it. All right, Pete, to answer your question here, yes, it'll be the same starting lineup that they put out there against Louisville and the same starting lineup that they put out there in the Kentucky BBN United Championship brought to you by Kentucky Tourism. And that's going to be Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe, Colin Chandler, Mo Diabate, and Brandon Garrison to round out the lineup. That's what they're going to start with. I'd be shocked if it were anything else. Do you agree, Stephen Peak?
Yeah. Well, I do think that, they'll run out the same lineup. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, but maybe tonight against Michigan State, it works.
What's your issue
just
with
different
it?
matchups there.
What would Coach Peak do differently? Drop my water bottle, sorry.
Not enough shooters. Not enough ways to create that gravity that he always talks about, pulling defenders out to go guard. I mean, you look at the starting lineup, TJ, it's just you got Brandon Garrison in there. That's not a threat. Mo Diabate goes into one corner, Otega into the other corner. Neither of those guys are guys you really have to go out and deny the pass, getting to them because they might pull and shoot. They're only going to shoot if they're wide open, and you kind of want them to. And then you have Colin Chandler, the best shooter on the team, and then Denzel Aberdeen, who's the best player on the team, but maybe not one of your lights out 3-point shooters. Maybe he will be though. Like maybe I could be completely wrong about this, but he was a decent 3-point shooter last season, around 35%, right at 35% actually, it looks like. So yeah, that's still I like the way that last season it really helped Otega that you had sometimes 3 other shooters out on the floor with him.
Oh, for sure. The spacing was perfect for Otega last year.
And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that with the lineups we're running out there with Ortega, that there isn't enough space for him to go do his thing where he's able to drive, draw fouls, get to the free throw line, and finish tough buckets around the rim because everyone's sagging off. And if there's screenshots that we've been sharing in the group chats that are just – it's almost like Louisville was playing a zone. They were playing so far off Ortega, they didn't even have their eyes on him. It wasn't even a see ball and man. They're watching the ball. They're watching what Jalen was doing at the top of the key. They're like, fine, pass it over to Ortega. He takes him 3 seconds to shoot the ball anyways with his windup. We'll be able to close out, no problem. But what we don't want is Ortega getting back doors. Amari Williams was such an elite passer last season. A lot of guys could just, get their guy into that zoom action, pull him out to the perimeter, and then cut back door, and they would be able to finish at the rim. So Mark Pope knows way more about basketball than I do, knows his team way better than I do. It's just observing it from this point of view. It's like, all right, well, what's the plan here? And I do want to see. I should look this up. How often that lineup is on the floor, because I think that's actually one of your worst lineups, and it's the one that you're starting. And then, like I said yesterday, I love the lineup that included Cam Williams and Andrea Jelovich. I'd love to see some of that today, because I do think Cam Williams is going to be a great shooter for Kentucky. He's made, 3 of his last 5 attempts. That's a very low volume, low sample size there, but I think he's maybe catching a little confidence after seeing a couple go through the basket. So maybe tonight Cam Williams can knock down a few trays.
I would hope so. Yeah, that would be – you hope that Louisville game, and then he follows it up against Eastern Illinois, playing solid, hitting 2 threes in that one. You hope maybe you can get a little something out of him. I do think you need to be realistic with your expectations for Cam Williams, and that being like if you get 2 threes out of him, that's colossal for the overall picture.
Yes.
I don't think anybody should be like, he's going to be your breakout player with 20 points. Although I say that, watch that exact thing end up happen.
No, CJ, that could happen. Like not regularly, but I don't see where he can catch fire for sure.
If he is over 15 points tonight, I'd be pretty surprised. I hope it does happen. But I think a better game for him is 100 points. Why stop at 15? No, a realistic good game for him that I could totally see happening is like Michigan State after the game being like, well, who's that dude that hit 3 threes? Has he done anything for them this year? He just needs to hit some shots. He just needs to hit outside shots at that. He can be a spot and set shooter with the way that the other makeup of this team is. He just needs to make a couple threes. That's all I'm expecting out of him. I'm not expecting him to go put the ball on the floor and dunk on people and go get to the free throw line and have this complete all-around game. You were brought in just to shoot and make shots. So shoot and make shots. And, yeah, I hear you, and I'm trying to get up the Evan Maikawa website to see where this UK lineup goes or how good it is comparatively. You said that the starting lineup may be one of their worst. It's certainly not a great shooting lineup, as you mentioned. When you have Mo D and Otega Owe in the corners, that's not the spacing that a Mark Pope offense – it's not the shooting that the spacing needs to have, I should say, to thrive. So I want to see what Cam Williams brings to the table tonight. Can he hit a couple shots? I don't really understand why Jelovich is on seemingly some sort of minutes restriction, but Michigan State has a good front line. They have a good front court. They have one of the best rebounders, at least statistically, in college basketball right now. I would hope Mo Diabate would be able to neutralize him and have an answer there. But Jelovich adds offensive potential with somebody that hasn't been getting belt to ass defensively. It's not like he's been a huge liability defensively. I actually think that he's held his own pretty well, getting used to and adjusted to the college game. So I want to see a little more Cam Williams. I want to see a lot more Andre Jelovich. I do wonder what Mark Pope has in store for Trent Noah tonight. You know that Mark Pope just loves Trent Noah. The way he talks about him, the way that he plays him, the way that he played him last year. Mark Pope likes Trent Noah. So you're probably going to see a lot of Trent Noah tonight. Is there a point that it could be too much Trent Noah? We'll have to see about that as well. And I wouldn't, we're trying to figure out who the breakout player could be. I wouldn't be shocked if Malachi Marino has a double-double tonight. And that may not be your player of the game necessarily if he finishes with 10 and 10, but it'd be a pretty damn good sign for the freshman if you ask me. So I'm really interested in the bench. The starting lineup, that's what they're going to roll out there with. I'm okay with it just based on proven track record. Peak, you're exactly right. There's some shooting concerns with that starting lineup. But I'm really curious to see if Yelovich is going to get more of an opportunity tonight. I think Malachi Moreno is due for a big game against a quality opponent. Cam Williams, can he keep the momentum going? And then Trent Noah, what does he bring to the table? How healthy is he? And does Mark Pope play him more than he should? Or does he not play him enough, potentially? I need to leave every avenue open for storylines. But, yeah, starting lineup's fine with me. However, the bigger question marks come from the bench.
And I do wonder if Jasper Johnson plays more than 6 minutes. You would think that a game against Louisville it would be a game that he should have kind of thrived in, and that should have played to his strengths. The game being wide open and up and down like that, he got 4 threes off, missed all of them, and I think his fourth one might have landed on a letter in the end zone. And I hope tonight but see, tonight I just don't know if it's a good game for him because of the physicality, and I don't know. But the issue too with Jasper was defensively against Louisville as well.
Yeah, maybe this isn't the right game for Jasper. If you can't hit anything, then I think that would be an opportunity. Like Jasper, just go, shake and bake and try to get yourself a 23-footer and just see if you can create a spark here. But you're right, this may not be the best Jasper Johnson game.
And as for Trent Noah, I mean, it's a little weird to me that you build this guy as your best shooter, and the Kentucky was 3 of 13 from 3 to start the Louisville game. And yes, they ended up shooting a better percentage than Louisville did. But at the time, they were 3 for 13, and Noah didn't play at all. Now, Noah might have got torched in that game defensively. Very possible. Very, very possible. But he wasn't getting torched in the first half defensively. Kentucky gave up 53 first-half points. Who was it? Who was locking down on defense? We can't put Trent in the game because he'll give up points just like everyone else is. And if he is your best shooter, why is he not on the floor? It would be weird tonight if I saw Trent Noah out there. Because why would he play this game and then not play against Louisville when he was, they said, completely healthy? He played on Friday night, did okay, hit a couple threes. But I don't know. It's weird. Is Trent Noah only going to play against mid-major opponents and then occasionally in conference play? Because that's what I would believe if he doesn't find the floor tonight. Yeah. Do you think Trent Noah will find the floor tonight?
No, that's going to be interesting, and that will provide some storylines after the game. That if Trent Noah doesn't play tonight, Pope could potentially just say, he's still not 100%. He's getting close. Obviously, we played him Friday, but just in a big game like this, we want to ease him back. But if he doesn't play tonight, that could be Pope's way of saying, all right, he's not there yet. If he does play tonight, then you should expect him in the UNC game in a couple of weeks. You should expect him a few days after that against Gonzaga. This will let us know if they think that Trent Noah's got the chops. But wasn't he in the starting lineup at times this year? I think you're going to see plenty of Trent Noah tonight.
He started the first game of the season, then got hurt 9 minutes in.
I think you'll see plenty of Trent Noah for better or for worse. And again, similar to a Cam Williams situation, hey Trent, hit some threes. If we're worried about how you can defend or if you're strong or physical enough, getting rebounds and whatnot, well, one way that you can just kind of not make that a storyline, just hit 5 threes. Boom. We don't really care what you're doing on the other end at that point. And this is a good Michigan State front court. They're big. They're physical. They're going to try to clean up the glass, limit Kentucky's opportunities. Offensive rebounds are going to be a premium in this game for UK. And we haven't really mentioned them. I mentioned that Malachi Moreno, this could be a good spot for him to have a decent game. Sadly, I think we know what the answer is. But nobody's talking about Brandon Garrison having a big game. This would be a great day for BG to have a great day. This would be it, baby. This is a good front court that just does the right things. They're disciplined. They're fundamental. They're not going to create. They're not going to do a bunch of stupid fouls, but they will be physical. So their fouls, nothing's going to come easy to you. When you think you may have an easy dunk or a layup, they're probably going to come in and hack you.
Isn't that why people aren't suggesting Brandon Garrison will have a big game?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think that's when you hear all those things, you don't think, oh, this is BG's time to shine, huh? But dude, surprise us. Every time it seems like he zigs when we're expecting him to zag. The only consistency is his inconsistency, right? So be consistent tonight. Have a big game. If Brandon Garrison, and I don't think he's ever going to have a stat line that just makes your jaw drop, like 21 points, 14. He's never going to have an Oscar Tshiebwe stat line. It just will never happen for Brandon Garrison, and that's okay. But if he finished with something like 8 and 9 and maybe a block shot or two, because this is a really big Michigan State team that's going to try to do a lot of their damage in the paint, so get those big old arms up there, Brandon Garrison, and alter some shots. That would go a long way tonight, Stephen Peak. But, yes, when we're saying it all out loud, that's why nobody's talking about it, is because nobody thinks these things are going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. This is a good prove the doubters wrong game across the board for Kentucky. Look, can I read something from the Game Day Men's Health text line real fast, because it goes into what I'm going to say?
Sure.
Is that right?
502-414-1450, Game Day Men's Health text line.
This is from Local John. He says, John here, I know it's early in the season, but I feel like this is a must-win game for our Cats. That may be an overreaction, but that is just how I feel. With a win, this could give us a big confidence boost, and on top of that, the Cats have some easy wins coming up in the next 2 games. We need this winning streak, and we need it to start right now. And then he also says he has the Cats winning by 10, which is about where I said 7 to 10 range. I totally agree with John. It's not a must-win in the sense of we have to win this game or we will not win the national title. Now, history will tell you that losing 2 November games does eliminate you from winning a championship. I think the last team to do that was in 1989, lost 2 November games and went on to win the national championship. So yeah, it is. But it's not a must-win in terms of can this team achieve the goals at the end of the season that they want. It is a must-win in terms of switching the vibes of the fan base. Do you remember, TJ, where we were at just a couple weeks ago after that Purdue game? An exhibition game, albeit an exhibition game, but it's still. It was we were at a 9 out of 10 on excitement. Man, some people were off the charts. Some people were 11 out of 10 on. We're finally back. We're going to dominate again this year. And then, well, you lose to Louisville. You lose Jalen Lowe. Mark Pope's making weird comments. Darren Rippey drops Kentucky from the top 5. I'm assuming because Kentucky's going after other guys. Now there's rumors that Taryn Stokes is going to Kansas. We just need something to turn the vibes around. And tonight, winning the Champions Classic would be a great way to do it. And especially if you can have some of those guys perform, some of the guys that Kentucky fans are slowly starting to doubt just a little bit. It would be nice for those guys to show out, be nice for Kentucky to get a win for this fan base, just so we can all feel good again.
This does seem to happen every November, though. Roush and I would call it the BBN Blues. There'd be like this week or 10-day stretch or even sometimes 2 weeks and maybe even longer where it just feels like UK fans would be getting served up turd sandwich after turd sandwich. It'd be mixed with some football losses, with some basketball bad losses or bad news. This does seem to happen annually. Hopefully this is the end of it, right? You win tonight, then you just say, all right, the BBN Blues lasted a week this year. It was the U of L game, the Jalen Lowe injury. UK football lost a commitment, but I don't think anybody really cares. It's never a good look, though, when you lose a commitment to Northwestern. Somebody flips to Northwestern on you. Football's not contributing to the BBN Blues this November.
No, they're not.
They're a bright spot, and we will talk about football in hour number 2. But, yes, you can. So this is going to explode one way or another. I did a radio spot before our show today, and I was just talking about the magnitude of this game. This isn't a loss that's going to hurt you on Selection Sunday. Now, it is another opportunity to get a quality win, but it's not like losing to Michigan State in November is going to kill your tournament chances. It doesn't even necessarily have to kill you a seed line, right? There's still so much opportunity ahead of Kentucky. They can get this thing turned around. You win it, I think everybody can exhale and just say, all right, things are fine. UNC on December 2nd. We got a couple cupcakes until then. I'm happy. I'm good. Life can go on. But you can get where I'm going with this. The alternative is if you lose and you're, 3-2 on the season. You've lost your only 2 games that matter or mean anything up to that point.
Right.
Your starting point guard is injured, seemingly out for the year or out a very long time, best case scenario. Yeah, the sky's going to be falling tomorrow if Kentucky doesn't beat Michigan State. I'm just going to let you know. It's going to be toxic. It's going to be ugly, and it's probably going to be Mark Pope's first real taste of fans wondering if he's the dude for the job. And that's going to be totally out of bounds, and that's not fair. And even if you lose tonight, Mark Pope, I still believe in you. But I'm just telling you what the conversation's going to be. I'm telling you what callers on my call-in show on ESPN 680 are going to say. So this is big. This is a big springboard one way or another, Stephen Peak. You win it, whew, all right. We're a top 10 team and everything's okay. You lose it, and oh boy.
Yeah, because it puts a ton of pressure then on that North Carolina game, where you feel like, we have to win this one, have to. And then if you don't win that one, it puts so much pressure on the Gonzaga game. And every one of these, I mean, according to Bartovic, all of those games are toss-ups. You could win all of them. Looks like, according to Bartovic at least, you could also lose all of them between Gonzaga. I think the one that he has the most confidence in is Kentucky beating Indiana out of these big non-conference games. But yeah, if you don't win tonight, that North Carolina game at home just becomes so massive.
And the issue with that North Carolina game is how long it is. December 2nd, which will be here in a blink of an eye, obviously. But if you're UK and the next time you get to kind of show your worth isn't for another 2 weeks, that's going to be a long 2 weeks. And, you even have some games mixed in there, but nobody's going to care about those games.
Exactly.
So
exactly. That's what sucks, too.
It's shocking that tonight's as big as a deal as it is, Peak, but here we are.
Yep, just for the vibes. It's big for the vibes. It's not – the sky will not be falling if Kentucky loses, but I totally agree with you. The fans will start – this will be the first time you will have I'll say too many fans will be questioning whether Mark Pope works at Kentucky. And it's way too early. It's a dumb take, but you know it just as well as I do. That will be how people feel.
But I'd say this, the alarmists have been more right lately than the rational, reasonable people, for what it's worth. The alarmists have been winning more lately. All right, hour number 2, Stephen Peak is in New York City to watch the Cats take on the Spartans tonight. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky with producer Matt Childers. Kentucky Roll Call, hour number 2, coming up next.
I'm suited up with street clothes. Hand me a 9 and out the
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. TJ Walker, Stephen Peak, producer Matt Childress. Peak, one final segment for him. He's in New York, going to head over to Jack Dempsey. So if you're in New York listening to Kentucky Roll Call and you see Peak out and about, give him a good, hearty roll call. And, hey, also want to let you all know what everyone actually wants for Christmas, something they'll use and enjoy. That makes shoppingkentuckiana.com. That is shoppingkentuckiana.com. Such a hit. You can grab half-price gift certificates to restaurants, entertainment spots, and attractions all over Kentuckiana. Think Malibu Jacks, Parlor Pizza, 5-Iron Golf, and tons more. Every deal half off, which means you can double the fun without doubling the cost. Give them as gifts or use them for holiday outings with family and friends. You can go to Shopping Kentuckiana. That is shoppingkentuckiana.com and make your Christmas shopping simple, local, and most importantly, full of savings, which we love at Shopping Kentuckiana. I was actually at Malibu Jacks for a birthday party on Sunday. It was a good time. Malibu Jacks is great. They've had Kentucky Roll Call out there for some fun before, and maybe we'll get out there again in the future. Fun first hour talking Cats versus Spartans with Stephen Peak. Peak, have you hit up Sbarro yet? My favorite New York pizza joint.
To the city for a New York slice.
You get you down there. Get yourself a New York slice. What are you most looking? When are you leaving? Tomorrow morning?
Yes, yeah, we like to get in here and get out. So yeah, we'll head out tomorrow at like 1 o'clock or something. Probably, perfectly right in the middle of the show. Is what we try to schedule this stuff. So it's good.
No, I was just gonna say, so you're not gonna get really like any time for fun. Like this is your time for fun right now.
Dude, this is all I do. Kentucky sports. When you asked me the other day, my wife thought it was funny when you were like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I just went right into basketball and football, and you just get right into it. It's like, no, this is what's going on. This is what's going on in my life.
How do I look like I'm doing?
Exactly. We've done the do the New York thing, do the touristy stuff before. So if you ever get a chance to go to the 9/11 museum, I always tell people to go to that. That is really incredible. I actually went to it twice, and I think some of the people who are covering Kentucky are going to hit it up while they're here. Just sorry to bring the vibes down like that. Just realized what I was doing as I was saying it. But it is something that I've gone to twice when I've come to New York different times. It is really interesting, and yes, it's sad, it's somber, but what they put together, I mean, is just so fascinating. So yeah, I highly recommend that if people haven't done that before.
Yeah,
there you go. Let's talk about 9/11 right before we get ready for this basketball game. How about that?
And when Kentucky's ever out at Maui, I know a tour of Pearl Harbor that you just wouldn't believe.
Yeah, as soon as I started talking, I was like, "What am I doing? What am I talking about?"
I actually haven't been to New York, besides just like connecting flights and stuff like that. I haven't experienced New York since I've been 21. So the Champions Classic, I guess, I was 20. The first one ever in New York, Kentucky versus Kansas, which ended up being the preview of the national championship game. I haven't been to New York since then, so it's been a long time since I've gotten to kind of get out there and enjoy it. So actually, next time I do go, I'm going to need recommendations and whatnot. But 9/11 Museum, everybody has said that. I need to check it out. I have not gotten a chance
to. Yeah, you need to see it.
Especially since that's so big to our generation, too. I bet it would hit even harder. But good. Well, I hope that you're able to do maybe a couple things. But if nothing else, you're going to get to watch some basketball. Will you stay for the end of the Duke-Kansas game? You may be working so late you're just there anyways. But maybe you'll get to hit up. Maybe you'll get to hit up NYC tonight.
Yeah, well, maybe here's what I want, TJ. I want to experience this after a win. I want to be able to go out and celebrate with Kentucky fans after the Cats win, because the last 2 times I've been here, which was for the UCLA game and the CBS Sports Classic, that game sucked. I mean, wasn't even it's hardly an enjoyable loss, but that was one of the least enjoyable losses just because it was such a boring game. Did we score like 40-something points total? Maybe we scored 50. It might have been like 63-53. And then, of course, last season against Ohio State, another just absolutely terrible performance. Kentucky lost by 20 in that one. They weren't even close. And that was a game I forgot, TJ, when I was counting up all the times that Kentucky has has been trailing at halftime. So it's actually 10 of 13 games, regular season games, away from Rupp Arena. Kentucky has been trailing at halftime, and for half of them, it's been more than 9 points or more.
That is crazy. I mean, it's like almost hard to do. Well, if you think that Kentucky's going to not come out hot again, have another bad first half, you can get Michigan State plus 135 on the first half money line. They are 2.5-point dogs in the first half. So Kentucky is a 2.5-point first half favorite and minus 175 on the first half money line. The over-under 71.5 for the first half. So they're thinking it's going to be like 35-ish, 36-34 in that ballpark, somewhere around there, Kentucky leading. I love the under in the first half for what it's worth. That seems like too many points, two good defensive teams kind of figuring each other out. So if you think that Kentucky does just struggle in the first half, you could do a little Michigan State plus 135 on the money line and then under 71.5 points. That's plus 315 for what it's worth, folks. So if you were to put, $20 on that, that's winning $83 if you're the gambling type. But I do like that.
Kentucky's never had more than a 5-point lead on the road at halftime in the Mark Pope era.
Wow.
Except for Troy, we were up by 8. They're up by 8. So 8 points against a mid-major. 5 points is the most they've been up, I think, on the road. Yes. On the Mark Pope era. So out of those, because even if you count the SEC, because they were down at halftime to Oklahoma and they were down at halftime to Alabama. So the largest lead would have been 5 away from Rupp Arena.
Man, that is crazy. Hey, Peak, while I have you, if you have any other basketball things you want to get to, we are previewing Kentucky, Michigan State. We'll get to the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. You text it in. We'll read it on air. We're on the YouTube. We got fun UK, Michigan State memories over on the YouTube. But if you have any other basketball things, feel free to let them rip. I know we've only got you for a few more minutes here. But I do want your take on the Lane Kiffin situation. We didn't get to talk about that yesterday. Lane Kiffin's family pulls the old Scott Drew. And Scott Drew, they toured Lexington. Could you see yourself living here? Is this a place you'd want to be? Well, the Kiffin family did that at both Baton Rouge in Louisiana for the LSU job, which is opened, and did it to Gainesville in Florida as well. So supposedly the private jet making the rounds yesterday for the Kiffin family to get a feel for, hey, could you see yourself living in these cities? Now, of course, they didn't really try to hide it or the flight tracker or anything like that. So you've got people saying Kiffin wanted this out there. Why would he want it out there? Does it mean he's definitely leaving? And then you get the reports out there that Ole Miss has given Lane Kiffin the ultimatum.
Yep.
And Lane Kiffin, by the way, just now in the last 30 minutes has come out and said that's not true. There was no ultimatum given by Ole Miss. But that report was Ole Miss told Lane Kiffin, hey, you got to let us know by the Egg Bowl what you're doing.
Yep.
And if you're leaving, we may have a different coach the college football playoffs for us. So
that is insanity, TJ.
This whole storyline is insanity, Stephen Peak. Like, this is insane to me. You got a guy who is right now in the college football playoffs, has a decent chance to maybe win the national championship, as crazy as that sounds. And he may leave for a job to his east. He may leave for a job to his west. Either one will be competing with his current employer moving forward. And now you've got his current employer saying, allegedly, which has now come out to Lane Kiffin has said it's not totally true the way that this has all gone down. But you got the employer saying, hey, you either need to stay with us or you leave for one of them. Something's got you, but you got to let us know as soon as possible. This is a crazy story to me.
This is nuts. I mean, you didn't think Lane Kiffin could beat the way that he left Tennessee, right? I mean, that was, if you remember that was crazy, wasn't it? And you remember how Tennessee had the #1 recruiting class coming in the middle of the night. He just vanishes. And it was a crazy time in Knoxville. Now he's doing it in Ole Miss. They're gonna, like you said, TJ, they're a playoff team. This is absolutely bonkers to me. How do you even? I understand entertaining LSU and Florida over Ole Miss, right? I mean, I understand it. How do you not be better about covering it up? Maybe it's just harder to do it now. But to me, it just feels like, how am I supposed to feel as an Ole Miss fan? You have taken my program. If let's say I'm an Ole Miss fan, and you've taken my program to the college football playoffs and put us in position. This has been an unbelievable season for Ole Miss. This is as good as it gets, and you're setting yourself up to be just a few wins away from a national championship. Ole Miss doesn't do this. Like, Ole Miss has had as a good football program, better than Kentucky, but this is competing for national titles. This isn't what they do. Not recently. Here they are, just a few games away from playing on college football's biggest stage. And their coach is leaving. How would I feel as an Ole Miss fan about Lane Kiffin today? Dude, it's such a weird situation. I don't know why this stuff can't wait until in some ways I get it because of recruiting. I get it because of transfer portal, obviously. But that just messes up this whole thing, doesn't it? I mean, I hate the way that the scheduling is in the offseason for college football sometimes, because players sitting out or coaches not coaching in important bowl games, and now playoff games. They're not even going to coach playoff games now?
Playoffs?
That's crazy. Well, that is absolutely insane. Imagine if John Calipari left for the NBA right before the Final Four in 2014 or 2015.
I mean, it's really not even apples to apples, because he'd have to leave for Duke or Kansas. I mean, because I'm about to say if he left for like an NBA job or something. I know, but that's. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. Lane Kiffin's not leaving for the NFL. He's leaving for competition. He's leaving for somebody. Right. He may take Ole Miss's entire roster and say, "I'm going to competition. I'm going to beat you with your players that you just had." It is a wild. It's a wild setup. You paid for, they paid for those players, the boosters and the school. Like, they paid for those players, and he's like, "Yep, and I'm going to take them all, and we're going to go beat your ass next year."
Well, do you think that moving or setting up the only one transfer window that for some reason is at the beginning of the playoffs has to do with this? Like, why is the transfer window in college football during the college football playoff? That just doesn't make any sense, because things like this are going to happen where when there's mass vacancies in college football, if you are a coach that is, highly sought out after, like Lane Kiffin, all these schools are going to want you to come in before that window if that's all possible, because if he goes throughout the playoffs, like, it sounds bad, but if the more Ole Miss succeeds, the worse it looks for whatever school he may go to. Because if he makes a deep run in the playoffs, well, if he ends up leaving anyway, you're screwed, because the whole transfer portal's already over. I hear what you're saying. It's an interesting situation for Ole Miss. Here's what I would say, though. If you're Ole Miss, we just wanted to compete for a national championship. This dude has done it. I want him to stay. I want him to be here. If he leaves for Florida or LSU, I will be disappointed, and I won't be happy with him. However, at the end of the day, we're Ole Miss football. Like, we've always been at the bottom of the SEC West. Maybe we get ahead of Mississippi State. Maybe we get ahead of Arkansas. But we're below the pecking order from the Alabamas, from even really the Auburns, from the LSUs, from the A&Ms. But here we are, and we're at the big kids table. I would just want to enjoy this season as much as I could. And I wouldn't want to give Lane Kiffin an ultimatum. I wouldn't play it that way if I was Ole Miss's AD or if I was their athletic program. I would say, thank you. Like, thank you for turning us into a national power. We want you here forever. But if not, can you give us your blood, sweat, and tears for the finale of this year? Because if it ends in an Ole Miss national championship, any Ole Miss fan would say, hey, at the beginning of the year, would you trade a national championship this season, but it means we don't have Lane Kiffin anymore? And every Ole Miss fan would be just smashing that button, because that's what you play to win the games. You play to win championships. Those things last forever, and there's no saying that Ole Miss can't be good with another coach down the road. They will. They probably would be. Lane Kiffin was a great hire. Yeah.
They spent a lot of money.
So if I was an Ole Miss fan, one, I would definitely not want to go the ultimatum route. I just think that's a terrible look. Because what if Lane Kiffin's just like, all right, well, then I'm leaving. So now you need somebody to coach the Egg Bowl. You need somebody to coach the college football playoffs. And I'm gone, and you kind of ticked me off on the way out, so I'm going to have no issue stealing everybody from you when your season comes to an end. Why would you want to do that? And why would you want to, like, if he's going to leave, he's going to leave. Just make him happy on the way out.
And who does take over? Like, who is he not taking with him, I guess, to
Well, you probably have like an OC or a DC just take over for the rest of the year. But then after that, yeah, I mean, everybody would probably leave, right?
Wow. It just feels like that this stuff could wait. But it's like Matt said. I mean, there's a transfer portal, and they're going to want their coach already lined up. So that's dumb. I don't like it that it's that early. Can we give some space? Can we? Like, is it possible? Can we give a little bit of space so that this doesn't happen? Can the NCAA set this up to where you don't have a coach who has a team that could potentially win it all, leaving in the middle of or before the playoffs even take off? Because he's going to leave, right? I mean, he's going to take one of these two jobs.
It seems that way.
We've thought that ever since these jobs came open. Even Ryan Kelly started struggling.
I thought he was going to stay.
I feel like if it was going to
I
take this
did.
long, he definitely is not staying anymore.
And I agree with Matt now that I've changed. I think I'm wrong about it. But I thought initially he was just going to say, listen, I'm just starting over at Ole Miss, or excuse me, I'm just starting over at LSU, or I'm just starting over at Florida with more heat and more pressure. Yeah, the resources are going to be a little easier than Ole Miss, but what if I have 2 bad years? Well, then it's just kind of all over for me. And yes, he'll be able to go get any other job he wants in 2 years if he gets fired from any of these places, and he'll be even richer because of it. But I just figured I'm rolling at Ole Miss. I've got stability. I've got job security. Everybody loves me here. I'm established. People want to come play for me here. I just thought he wasn't going to uproot all that. But I agree with you two now that the fact that he hasn't just come out at some point in November and said, hey, guys, I'm staying. Like, we need more money in the program. They're going to give me a raise. But Florida, LSU, this is a distraction to a national championship team. I'm not going there. But the fact that he hasn't done that, you two are probably right.
Yeah, I mean, it's Lane Kiffin. You know, if it was anybody else, I might agree with you, but it's Lane Kiffin. So, of course, he's going to go to a place like LSU or Florida. I think that he embraces this spotlight, that he is like one of the most charismatic coaches ever. That he's built for programs like LSU and Florida and USC, Alabama. Like it makes sense to me. Once Brian Kelly started struggling, and then once we knew Florida. I mean, Roush said it all summer. DJ Lagway is not going to pan out this season. He might end up being good, but he was going to have a sophomore slump, and they were right. He was right about that. So all year I've just been waiting for the Lane Kiffin to LSU or Florida stuff to start, because now if you are Auburn and you want to go after John Summerall at Tulane, or if you're Ole Miss now, because Ole Miss is going to have a vacancy, they're going to want John Summerall. It was the reason we had these conversations is because we thought Kentucky would be going through something like this, looking for a new coach. And TJ, I mean, that's probably not going to happen now, but
yeah, you got Stoops talking nil. You got Stoops just wanting to talk.
Swaggy Stoops.
Man,
Swaggy Stoops is back.
It was a while ago before they weren't taking callers into the call-in show, and now Swaggy Stoops, he just wants to talk money, baby.
Oh, he's calling out reporters, and beat Tennessee Tech by 32. Swaggy Stoops comes back. I love it. Knocked off the undefeated Golden Eagles, and we got the happy Mark Stoops back in our press conferences again. That was fun. And it is interesting, TJ, to kind of bring this back to what we were saying, is that watching other programs go through this, it's a lot more entertaining and less stressful and kind of funny to have this point of view. Whereas a couple years ago when we are watching Scott Drew go to restaurants and Kentucky fans calling the restaurant to talk to him, it's a little bit more stressful on our end because we're having to cover it and be constantly just inundated with this stuff. A lot more fun seeing it from the other side.
You be careful what you ask for, Stephen Peak. It could, you never know. You could be on the other side of it sooner than later.
Which sport?
Football. You could be
okay.
It's not a guarantee Stoops is back just yet.
No, I'm not guaranteeing it, but I mean, you and I both know what Mitch is going to do if Stoops wins one more game. We know what's going to happen. We know.
Yeah.
And I think they will win one of two. I'm excited, man. I'll come back on Wednesday tomorrow after the win tonight. come back home on Wednesday. I'll get to be in Louisville on Thursday, Nashville Friday to see the Cats take on the Commodores. I'm sure you're going to talk about that in the final segment. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Biggest Kentucky Vanderbilt football game since 1999 is what I was told.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal.
Do you remember the 1999 Vanderbilt Kentucky game? Because I don't.
I don't. Did Vandy win in that one?
Kentucky won, got bowl eligible, and they went to the Music City Bowl where James Whalen. I went to that game. James Whalen snapped his leg.
That's not good.
No, they lost the game to Syracuse.
No,
but
I was at that.
I'm super excited to get to Nashville for that.
I was at that one too. We went to the Outback Bowl the year before that too against Penn State, and then Music City Bowl against Syracuse. Who could forget? Okay, Steven, have so much fun in New York. Be safe. Enjoy the game tonight, and bring home a big Cats win. I don't know how you could do that as a media member, but you'll find a way.
I will do my best.
Okay. All right, Stephen Peak, everybody, from the Big Jersey, as they like to say. He's up there in Newark. And we're appreciative of his time. Producer Matt, we're going to take a commercial break, come back, and then have one final segment in studio with producer Matt and TJ Walker to talk Cats versus Spartans, Champions Classic, maybe a couple other bets, some player props and points and things of that nature that I like, and we'll preview some other games as well. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. One final segment coming up next.
New York.
And Johnson, those are four really good players.
Well, Hero's doing a great job at Miami.
Higgins to Nick Richards.
In fact, many didn't think they'd play here tonight.
Go Big Blue. Welcome back. Kentucky Roll Call, one final segment. Game Day edition. Champions Classic. This used to be, at one point, this was the first game of the season. Was that the Tyrese Maxey game that he hit that shot? Well, I think that was the opening game of the college basketball season. It wasn't always the first game. It was usually the second or the third, but it was usually the first marquee game of the season. And, of course, with UK and U of L inexplicably playing last week, which was just such a travesty to that rivalry. And the only reason that UK lost the game, of course, is because it was just way too early.
When I was looking up that clip, like, because I have the PC sound up so you can hear Steven, right? So I have to mute the YouTube site, so I couldn't hear the call. But I was like, oh, that's a big dunk. It's probably exciting to listen to. And then I played it back, like when I was like, oh, it's Jay Billis commentating. Nothing in this game is exciting to listen to.
No, you won't get over the top excitement with Jay Billis. You will get Jay Billis telling a defender that he can't foul in that position.
Of course,
you'll get that. But
Jay Billis gives like the average like dad talk on every football game, like big third down here. Got to make some shots.
Yeah. Oh, the incomplete pass. I think on that one you needed to complete it, in my opinion.
Did he know he needed just a few more yards? Why didn't he stretch out for that one?
Well, instead of missing that layup, it would have been smarter had he just made the shot instead. 502-414-1450, the Game Day Men's Health text line. Text it on into the show. We'll do our best to read it on air. We'll get to a couple texts here. There's several other quick hitters and some things I'm curious Matt's opinion on, but let's just go to the text line and see where you all take us here on the show today. A texter says, Ole Miss has no chance of winning the college football playoff. They were down to a terrible Florida team for most of the game last week. They will be an early exit, and Kiffin knows that. He's no dummy. He knows it and will take a better football school to get him to the top. Well, he's a hell of a lot closer than Florida and LSU are to obtaining that exact thing that you're talking about.
I think college football is just has a lot more disparity in it now than we really believe.
I think there's truth to that as well. Listen, I'm not blown away by Ole Miss this year. I don't think that they're the best team in college football, and they are not the favorite to win the national championship. As a matter of fact, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They are the 10th favorite, which that's crazy. I think Ole Miss is plus 2,200 for a team that you absolutely know is going to be in the college football playoff. That's not the worst bet that you can make. I don't think they're going to win. So that being said, I still think that you're just throwing, you're lighting money on fire. Ohio State is the favorite at plus 175 to go back-to-back. Pretty significant drop-off then to Indiana at plus 500, and then a decent little jump to third at A&M at plus 750. Notre Dame at plus 950, and then rounding out the top five is Georgia at plus 1,000. So, Ole Miss way off that. But you know what's interesting, producer Matt? Odds to make the college football playoffs, you can't get worse odds, or I guess better odds, depending on how you're looking at it, than Ole Miss. They're locked. They're pretty much locked in the college football playoff the way the Vegas sees it. Minus 4,000. You'd have to bet $4,000 to win $100 on that bet.
I think you should do it.
You think so?
I think so. If
I should up $4,000 to try to win me a hundo?
Just like when you were looking for the Stoops buyout, if every roll call listener gave, maybe $100, we could get this done and possibly send some money out there ourselves.
Wow. I like the way you're thinking. So you're saying if we Stoops buyout, how much would we have to put up to win $38 million?
It's minus 4,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, we need a $38 million profit. So if you can figure that out, you let me know. But here's the actual deal is like, it's a sure thing. So we don't even really technically have to have the money.
It'd have to be, I don't have the number in front of me, but it would have to be a lot of money.
Well, really, it just need to be about $38 million, right? And then we win that money back plus the $100 on top of it or whatever additional.
Well, that would be if it was like minus 1,000.
But my whole point is, if it's such a sure thing, let's just take the free money. And we don't even actually really have to have the money. We can do it on credit, if you will.
Oh, okay, yes, because credit is free money.
Exactly. And then if we lose, well, then, we're in big trouble.
You just call the credit card company and say somebody stole it.
Then we have to come up with $76 million at that point.
But, I mean, you're already giving up 38. What's 76?
At that point, you're right. Like, if we're 38 million, you're already having to be strategic at that point. If you just have to be doubly strategic, is that really the end of the world?
I mean, the government can just, raise its debt cap. We can just do the same thing, so.
Mitch, is it so much to ask to just do a free bet on Ole Miss making the playoffs? But that is kind of crazy. They're 10th favorite to win it all, but the way they're positioned right now, they're going to be in. Texas Tech also going to be in the college football playoffs. They're minus 2,500. Notre Dame minus 2,500. So 3 of the 12 teams, producer Matt, seem to be locked in. And the next favorites, it gets, how is okay. I mean, Ohio State would have to be your favorite. All right, they're not even taking odds on Ohio State. So that makes sense. Okay, I was in Indiana as well. They would have to be up there as well. Yeah, so a couple teams not listed on here.
Look, if you look at Kentucky's team totals for tonight, it's minus 110 for them to score over 79 points. I think that's a lock.
I don't know if it is a lock, sadly.
You could put some good money on that.
I don't know if it is a lock.
And then, you're giving Mark Pope is giving back to the community to help get Stoops out.
We'll get some betting angles on the basketball side of things, but checking back in on the football text. Texter, you probably ended up being more correct than I initially gave you credit for. Ole Miss, according to Vegas, really does not have a chance to win the college football playoff. And you're right. So we went and looked it up. They're 10th favorite. Another texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line says, he's built for our program. We could call him Kentucky Kiffin, and he'd love that. Just kidding. He knows our smarter than the coach's fan base would annoy him. We don't have to worry about Lane Kiffin coming to Lexington, Texter. That's not going to happen. He's not going to beat UK. Now, maybe if he epically failed at Florida or LSU, we could get him on the retread potentially.
That would also mean that you're probably having 3 or 4 more years of Mark Stoops.
Never say never. Things change. You never know what could happen. Maybe we get Summerall and he doesn't work out. And then 3 years after Summerall doesn't work out, we get Kiffin in.
So you're just playing the long game.
Playing the long game. Yep, chess instead of checkers. But, the Stoops stuff, it certainly seems like this 3-game winning streak and the way that he's talking, he's got a new lease on life, it would appear. He's going into press conferences, smiling, pointing to reporters. Yeah, your question. He's going back at reporters here and there. They're no longer dipping and dodging and ducking phone calls on the coach's show, unlike Jeff Brom. There's a pep in Mark Stoops' step. And then this is something we'll probably talk about a little bit later in the week, but we're in basketball mode, and you can understand why. But Diego Pavia, I don't know. I kind of feel like he's going to throw us a stinker this weekend. Call it a wild feel. But he's been out partying, as you would imagine a rich person, a rich young adult in Nashville, Tennessee would do. I think he's going to have a bad game on Saturday. So that's exciting, and I do agree with Peak that if Stoops gets one of these next 2, it's a no-doubter that he'll be back for another season. And then every time you try to get on the text line, it jumps out on you. Okay, another texter says, for sure, Oscar was fool's gold, terrible with teammates. Cal would bring in someone instead of him if he could do it all over again. Yeah, that's a great question, actually, the hypothetical. If Cal could go back in time, would he have brought Oscar Tshiebwe into the program? Which, anytime you're talking about a National Player of the Year, a guy who set records at UK that probably aren't going to be touched in terms of rebounding, double-doubles, stuff like that, it's like, what? Why would you ever second guess it? But there are, and he did the church thing, and he was just a good Christian while in Lexington.
Wasn't he the one that was like, God came to me and told me this game isn't going to go well or something? Wasn't that before the Louisville game or?
No, he said that before the St. Peter's game.
Oh, the St. Peter's game.
And he said it wasn't that the game wasn't going to go well, but the flight from Louisville, from Lexington to Indianapolis, he was told that he had a premonition something bad was going to happen to the plane. So naturally, and he didn't just like supposedly, this is the way it was told to me. He supposedly didn't just go to one coach and was like, hey, I don't really like flying to begin with, and I've had some weird dreams about this flight specifically. I think I'm going to just meet you all up there. Supposedly he said it in front of the entire team. He was like, this plane's going to crash! And everybody was like, oh my goodness. Like, people freaked out. And people were like, all right, I just don't want to be around him. It's not so much that they were scared. They were just like, they just didn't want, yeah, there are stories about Oscar and his time at UK. But the dude was a dominant rebounder. There's no doubt about that. A man amongst boys when it came to cleaning the glass. But he won one tournament game for as good as he was. And he was a ginormous liability defensively. I think if Cal could do it all over again, he would have gotten a great rim protector to go along with him. Ideally, a good rim protecting offensive player. Or a rim protector that could spread the floor a little bit. They don't really necessarily grow on trees, but I think he'd probably run the Oscar Tshiebwe experiment again, because that is another National Player of the Year to his trophy case. But I think he would construct the team a little differently around him. And then also maybe he'd put his foot down a little bit earlier with Oscar. That's just like, hey, we're not putting up with like the mumbo-jumbo stuff off to the side. A texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line. We love hearing you. 502-414-1450. Hello, Kentucky Roll Call. This is Patrick Murphy here. Have these four teams always played in the Champions Classic? Yep, since 2011, the same four teams. And producer Matt, with the Champions Classic, Kentucky won the first year of the Champions Classic. Duke won in 15. Kansas won, when did they win? 21? Michigan State, the only team in the Champions Classic not to win a championship since the start of the Champions Classic. But that being said, it is 2025. This event started in 2011. The Champions Classic has only produced 3 champions. For what it's worth.
I wish we did more of like situations like the Champions Classic. Like I've always said that I think it'd be cool if let's say they don't renew the Champions Classic and like the teams move on from that and do something else. I would love it if we did like a Ohio River Classic or something, to be like Cincinnati, Indiana, Louisville, and Kentucky playing like a 4-team setup like that every single year, and like you revive all those rivalries together and they intermittently play each other. I think that'd be fun.
Are you familiar with the Kentucky Big Four Classic games? Or it wasn't called the Kentucky Big Four Classic games, but Kentucky's contributions to the Big Four Classic.
Was this older, or was this something that I should definitely know of?
Depends on your history of 1987 through 1990.
Oh, so very strong. Yes, I do remember these. I'm pretty sure I was there. I think I actually got credentialed for most of those games.
Credentialed in the womb. Kentucky went 2-2 in it. It was an event that featured Kentucky, U of L, IU, and Notre Dame. And one year Kentucky would play IU. The next year they'd play Notre Dame. Then they'd play IU. Then they'd play Notre Dame. And then U of L would play the other team. So if Kentucky played IU, U of L would play Notre Dame. And then when Kentucky played Notre Dame, the Cards and the Hoosiers would play. And it was called the Big Four Classic. It was in Indianapolis. And, it was supposedly people just loved it. I would be down for something like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, those are 4. I mean, Notre Dame, not as much anymore, but those were 4 pretty big basketball programs.
Yes, yeah, you probably want to replace Notre Dame with Purdue.
Yeah.
If you did IU, Purdue, Kentucky, U of L.
That'd be really fun.
I mean, just think of the fights. Think of the drunkenness. At some years, you'd probably have IU and U of L fans like gang up on Kentucky, and then Kentucky and Purdue fans. You know, like the way that some of the alliances may work out at a Big Four Classic would be fun. I had this idea several years ago about Kentucky doing like a grade 8, a Kentucky grade 8. Oh, and they also used to do supposedly some event that featured the previous year's Elite 8, producer Matt, and then the previous year's Elite 8 would like play each other the following college basketball year to start. That'd be really fun too.
That'd be cool.
But I've had this idea that Kentucky and Louisville should host like a Commonwealth Cup event. And you get UK, U of L, Bellarmine, Northern Kentucky, Murray State, Morehead State, EKU, and WKU. and those are 8 teams. And maybe I'm forgetting one D1 team in the state, but there's the 8 teams. And you just have a good old-fashioned tournament.
That'd be cool, too.
The only thing that is a little bit of a hiccup on it is would UK and U of L play twice in a season? Would the Commonwealth Cup Championship just be the UK U of L game? And would you play that game twice? Or would you just say the UK U of L game is going to take place in the Commonwealth Cup, and then if there were an upset or if something were to happen, you'd just be host?
I think it would depend on when it's played. If it was something like the Battle for Atlantis, like the Maui Invitational, where it's done
something like that,
where it's like done like really, really early, then I could see them being played twice.
So here's what. All right, I just figured it out here. You do the Commonwealth Cup, but the first game, the first round matchup is UK U of L.
Okay.
So that way you're guaranteeing that game's going to be played, and you can rotate it. U of L, UK, U of L, Lexington, Louisville, Lexington, Louisville. And then, one team's going to lose, and they go to the loser bracket of the Commonwealth Cup, and then one team wins, and their next round, they get Northern Kentucky.
Oh, so there's a loser's bracket.
Yeah, because you got to get the even amount of games on both sides.
Yeah.
This is going to be an MTE.
So there's a chance that Louisville Kentucky play 3 times in a season.
No, just the one time. This is assuring that we just play the one time, and it's in the first round game of the Commonwealth Cup. And then after that, they don't play again the rest of the season. And if you lose, you go to the loser's bracket. But there's no
loser's bracket is consolation.
It's just consolation. There's no way to get back in.
I thought you meant like double elimination type.
Everybody's getting 3 games in the Commonwealth Cup, okay? And is Bellarmine maybe going 0-3 every year? Maybe. And Kentucky and U of L should definitely go at worst 2-1, and one team should go 3-0. But that way you're getting the UK U of L game, making sure it happens, and then the winner gets to the prize. Besides bragging rights, would be you get a little Commonwealth Cup championship, assuming you can win 2 more games. Secondly, it allows another fun, like a Western Kentucky versus U of L for the Commonwealth Cup championship. That'd be a ginormous deal to Western Kentucky, and it'd add a little juice to a cupcake game for U of L. I'd love it. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
and then I never hear the end of like Murray, Moorhead, all these teams, Western. Yeah, we want to play Kentucky. Play us. Play us. Well, you know what? In the Commonwealth Cup, anything's possible. Kevin Garnett. Another texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. They say that Oscar also liked riding his bike to Kroger and then riding home holding a box of wine.
Oscar's a lot of nice little night to himself.
Then Oscar amended his premonition at halftime, telling the team it was them losing the game that the death premonition revealed. Imagine the look on their faces during halftime. Is that true that he went at halftime and
there's no way
changed up the premonition?
He was like, "See, guys, I should have told you before the game, but this is." I went and talked to my therapist, and this is what they told me.
Actually, the plane was totally safe, as you all know, since you got here on said plane.
Plane was a metaphor.
It was That's So Raven. I just totally misdiagnosed what the vision was. Turns out the real collapse was us against St. Peter's in this tournament.
I just imagine like the scene from like I played it a couple weeks ago on Talladega Nights where he's like, "We tried hard and we're still good friends," and like everybody's just staring at him, like waiting for him to finish. That's how they would look at Oscar Tshiebwe.
It wasn't. It was pretty similar to that, honestly. Yeah, and that wasn't the only like Oscar talking to the team and the coaches and the team after he's done talking, all looking at each other like, what? That was huh? What do we take away from that? He supposedly wasn't the best rah team guy.
I was so excited when the Pacers got him
in the locker room. What's that?
I was so excited when the Pacers got him because like they've always needed a rebounder, and even now he's still going crazy at rebounding, but like he just has not developed as an offensive presence at all.
Well, he's actually a pretty good offensive player if everybody going against him was his same size.
Yeah,
he just can't score over people, and he's got great post moves as well. But it just doesn't matter when you're 6'8" and you're trying to post move Giannis. Like, it just doesn't matter when you're trying to post move or you're trying to do these spin moves on somebody. It doesn't matter how strong you are when Wemby is just right there to, like, stand 7 inches over top of you. And I'm not exaggerating. So, yeah, his size has just always been a big issue for him. If he was a great outside shooter, then maybe, he could get away with it because he still is an elite rebounder regardless of his size. But, yeah, he's not a good defender. He's not great at where he's not great at scoring where he can score in the NBA. So rebounding can only get you get you so far. Is he playing? Is he on a team this year in the NBA?
I think he's still in the G League.
Yeah, what's old Oscar doing?
I think he's still on the
When are we
Mad
gonna
Ants.
when are we gonna cut the crap, Oscar, and get you on the TBT team? Because this dude would be a TBT star.
He is not. He is on
Oh boy.
a Congolese professional basketball player
Oh no.
for the Utah Jazz of the National.
Oh. Okay.
I
I thought he was playing basketball in the Congo, and
That's
that was
what-
not the career development route that screams you're gonna make.
Yeah,
it.
he did move to the Utah Jazz team, which I forgot what that team's called.
The Salt Lake City Stars.
I guess so.
So creative, so great. All right, well, good for Oscar, but don't cost us any games tonight, please. A texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line says that part is true. He told ESPN dude who told us about it for the first time during the game. I think I do remember that now that you're bringing all that up, that something at halftime also got all mixed
I
up.
completely forgot he was on West Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that was
Forgot
actually,
about that.
the Oscar Sheboy story, I was knee-deep in it. I covered his recruitment. And he was committed to West Virginia, or he was going to go to West Virginia, but then Kentucky started to sniff around. And Bob Huggins got kind of ticked off at John Calipari for sniffing around Oscar. And Cal was like, well, Huggins, I don't care if you're going to be mad at me. You're not going to be mad at me in the long term. You understand how this business goes. I'm going to come after this guy. He's from my hometown. Well, his hometown of Congo. But he was living in Pittsburgh at the time when he came over to America with a sponsor family. And Cal was like, I'm going to make a run at him. And I think I'm going to go try to get him. I'm going to have him come visit. Bob Huggins went to the sponsor family, who just so happened to be ginormous West Virginia donors, allegedly, and said, hey, UK is going to come sniffing around. You love West Virginia. I love West Virginia. Oscar loves West Virginia. Don't let them come sniffing around.
This is sounding really like The Blind Side right now.
This is all true, by the way. I mean, you're taking my word. So either you can trust me or don't, and I don't really care
Well,
what
your
way or
word
another.
is always true.
Absolutely. Thank you. And this is coming from Kentucky staff for what it's worth, so they could take some liberties. This is relayed to me from Kentucky staff, but not all Kentucky staff. I had some good inside sources there on the Oscar Sheboy. Not all of this came directly from UK. And so Kentucky was like, all right, Oscar, come down and visit us for Big Blue Madness. And he was like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it. I don't have travel down there for that. And they were like, well, we'll come get you. And he was like, it's just not going to work. And they were like, all right, what about this football game? And he was like, no, it's not going to work. Finally, they got a football game that would work. And supposedly, just like days before, Oscar called UK and they were like, hey, my host parents just aren't going to take me. Like, they're saying I'm not going. And they were like, well, hell with that. And I don't remember what they did, but they somehow got Oscar to go to that UK game and visit UK. And they felt really good about getting him to commit. And I think it ended up not happening, or it ended up not happening. They couldn't win out. UK couldn't win out. The host parents won out. And Oscar Sheboy did go spend a year and a half, I think, or a year at West Virginia. It was a good year. And then he started the second year, if I remember correctly, and then he only played 2 weeks, and then he transferred to UK. And that's how I think I remembered it. But his host parents quite literally would not let him go visit UK. They just were not going to let it happen. And but he ended up in Lexington. UK wanted him. He came during that terrible pandemic year, and he just had to sit out on the sideline during that one, which he would have been a game changer. That team probably would have had a winning record with Oscar, even with all his boo-boos. But Oscar Sheboy and Isaiah Jackson, that would have been a pretty damn good front court.
Gosh, I love Isaiah Jackson.
He just hasn't really clicked in the NBA like I thought he would. But
Well, he tore his Achilles
when was this?
last year.
Oh, okay.
He started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Then he was coming off the bench for the Pacers till the end of the season. He made a pretty big leap helping out Miles Turner.
That's right.
And then
That's
the start of the season last season, he tore his Achilles in the first game.
Oh, it was first game?
Yeah, first game, because I was so excited. I was like, we saw him make a big jump. I'm hyped to get him back. Miles Turner needs the help, and then ripped his Achilles in half.
Yeah,
But he's done well so far this season. Now the season is 1-13 without Tyrese Halliburton, so it's kind of all for nothing. But gosh,
never say never.
I was all so excited for him. I hope we keep him.
Yeah, he's probably going to go down as one of the better, most forgotten UK basketball players of all time. He was on a terrible team. Pandemic year. He was good, but he wasn't, he was still kind of just scratching the surface as a freshman to begin with. But he was good. He was good. Just Oscar Tshiebwe's National Player of the Year season. Shot 61% from the field, over 15 rebounds per game, 17.5 points per game, almost 2 steals per game, and 1.5 blocks per game. The dude was just an absolute monster in 21-22. And it's a real shame that UK couldn't do a little bit more with him, unfortunately. All right, back to the Game Day Men's Health text line. But first, I want to remind you about Salsaritas. Download that Salsaritas app and let them cater the holidays. It's not your traditional turkey, but it's a fiesta all the same, and it's delicious. 3 locations in Louisville, Middletown, St. Matthews, and they're out in Bullitt County, I-65, and Shepherdsville. They'll bring all the catering to your door. No party too big or too small, whether it's for football. Maybe you're thinking about what you want to do for tailgating for the Governor's Cup here in about 11 or 12 days. That's coming up before you know it. Salsaritas Catering, this time of the year, it is clutch. Download that app. You can do it all at the touch of your fingertips. Huggins wanted him gone after a year. West Virginia should have been a red flag for Cal. Cal and Huggins are good buds. Well, he didn't really want him gone, but he was in the doghouse. He was in Huggins' doghouse, and he wasn't getting as many minutes, and he wasn't playing as much. It's because he kind of had a negative attitude. Oscar Tshiebwe did. So then Huggins was like, all right, well, if you're going to keep being pouty, I'm not going to play you. And then Oscar said, well, I'll just leave then. And he did. So that's how I remember it shaking out, but I could have some of those details wrong. A texter says, the biggest thing I'm looking for tonight is if we get punched in the mouth to start the game due to Michigan State's physicality and give up an early lead. Kind of been a trend for Pope. Yeah, if they start out slow, I'm going to be so disappointed. I really will. And again, Pete, the way Pete kind of explained it was that's just going to be, that's not a bug of this coaching staff. It's just part of the makeup of it. They need a little time to figure out how a team's going to match up against them. They're analytics dorks. They run the numbers in their head as the game's going on, and they make the adjustments in real time, and boom, they'll figure it out. BS. Make the adjustments before the game. Watch tape. Figure out figure out which players have certain tendencies and stop them, right? There's no reason for these slow starts. There just isn't. By the way, the line is down to 4.5. It started at 5.5, but now it's 4.5. If you want to do, you can do like race to 10 points and stuff like that. I'll see if I can find that anywhere.
You think we're going to see any undressed Otega Owe warm-up pictures tonight?
I hope not. Largest comeback. Do we think there's a 20-point comeback tonight? Because you can get that at plus 8,000 if you think so.
Does that you have to win for that to hit, right?
Pretty sure you do have to win.
Okay. I didn't know if it was just like a deficit thing, like if they tie but then end up losing, if it counts or not.
Yeah. But we'll see. I really want them to, they don't have to come out and have Michigan State buried or anything like that, but it shouldn't be the under 16 timeout and it's 12-4 or 14-4. This offense is too good. You've got too many shot makers and creators. No slow starts tonight. That being said, this Michigan State team just doesn't really do it for me. Now, maybe they've got a couple guys that end up panning out, and a couple of their freshmen, I think, have potential. Cam Ward, he had a big game against Arkansas. He's a
football player.
Yeah, a different Cam Ward. But that's going to be a name to watch. He comes off the bench for Michigan State, but he's getting a bigger and bigger role. He could just be a surprise player that you haven't heard a lot about that has a big game. Jordan Scott, another freshman that could have a big game. But I'm going to take the Cats in a narrow one. I do think Michigan State covers the number, but I'll take the Cats by 2 in a lower scoring game than people think. 78-76 tonight. Producer Matt, your thoughts?
Calling it 79-74 Kentucky.
All right, go Cats. Everybody enjoy the game. The post-game show right after on ESPN 680 around 8:30 at night. Up next, Running with Roman on Big X Sports Radio.